A man secretly donates to his girlfriend's struggling family to see if she'll love him for who he is, not for what he gives. Julian Hart, 29, a quiet librarian with chestnut-brown skin and a calm demeanor, lived in the quiet town of Rivermont. Known for his humble job and quiet ways, he was the type of man who blended into the background, intentionally. What most didn't know was that Julian had inherited a small fortune years ago but chose to live modestly after seeing wealth destroy his father's relationships. His girlfriend, Serena Vale, 27, a spirited art teacher with curly black hair and soft olive skin, had no idea about Julian's true financial situation. She loved him for his gentle heart and unwavering presence. Or so he hoped. But lately Julian had noticed something. Serena's family was drowning. Her father's mechanic shop was nearly bankrupt. Her mother had mounting hospital bills, yet Serena never asked him for help. That's when Julian had an idea, dangerous, perhaps even cruel. He would anonymously save her family. Quiet donations, debts cleared, hospital bills paid, all without ever revealing it was him. If she still loved him without ever knowing what he did, then her love was real. But if she didn't? Serena's phone calls had changed. They were filled with quiet anxiety. Her voice trembled when she spoke of her mother's hospital stay. Julian would sit quietly sipping tea, pretending not to listen while his heart shattered inside. That night she cried softly on the couch beside him, whispering to herself that everything would work out. Julian didn't ask, he simply held her hand. It was enough, or so she thought. That same evening Julian began the first transfer. Through an anonymous account he created under the alias Benevo, he paid off a $7,300 hospital debt. He knew it would raise questions but not answers. Her parents wouldn't trace it. And if they did, it would lead to a dummy legal firm he quietly controlled. Serena's father called her the next morning, stunned by the sudden clearance. "Maybe it's a miracle," he said. Serena laughed through tears. Julian watched her closely. Miracle or manipulation, he wasn't sure himself anymore. Days passed. Julian continued to quietly monitor Serena's family's burdens. Her father's garage was failing, behind on taxes, supplies unpaid, customers dwindling. Julian, still hidden as Benevo, paid off the garage's 3-month tax bill. The next day, the city withdrew its lien notice. Serena was stunned. Her father was speechless. "It's like someone's watching over us," she told Julian, her voice a blend of wonder and fear. "But why us?" Julian just smiled and replied, "Maybe someone sees how hard your family's worked." The moment felt pure. But in Julian's chest, guilt festered. He wasn't sure if what he was doing was romantic or manipulative, yet the test wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. Serena began painting again. Her brush had been dry for weeks, paralyzed by fear and stress. But as her family's burdens seemed to lift, her spirit returned. She painted a piece called Rescue Without a Face, a faceless figure standing in the rain, holding an umbrella over a weary family. Julian stared at it one night and felt a chill. It was him, or at least the him no one saw. They made love that night, her arms around him tighter than usual. But Julian couldn't help wonder, was it gratitude or love? In the morning she whispered, "Whoever's helping us, I hope they know how much we're thankful." Julian kissed her forehead and didn't reply. Julian was invited to a small charity event by his childhood friend, Devin, a brash tech entrepreneur who knew about Julian's wealth and his experiment. "You're playing with fire," Devin warned, sipping champagne. "You think you're testing her love, but you're also feeding your own doubt." "What if she never finds out?" Julian sighed. "Then that's the point. If she loves me without knowing, I'll know it's real." Devin shook his head. "Or you'll always wonder how she'd react if she knew." That night, Julian donated another $10,000 anonymously to pay for Serena's mother's next surgery. Her health had been declining fast. Serena wept with joy when the hospital called. "I don't know who's doing this, but they're saving my mother." Julian said nothing. His heart ached. Weeks passed. Serena's family flourished. Her father hired 2 new workers. Her mother was in recovery. Even Serena's art sold better, her joy contagious to everyone who met her. Julian, though, felt increasingly invisible. Every smile Serena gave her unknown savior stabbed him with irony. She thanked the wrong person every time. One evening she said, "Do you ever wonder if fate has favorites?" Julian replied, "No, just people with good hearts." That night he placed an envelope in her studio, unsigned. Inside was a scholarship grant for a week-long art residency in France, something she'd always dreamed of but never dared to pursue. She found it the next morning and cried. Julian watched from the kitchen, feeling more like a ghost than a man. Serena started asking questions. Who was Benevo? Why their family? Why now? Julian played dumb, of course. But she began researching the donations, trying to trace sources. She even called the hospital finance office and was told the payments came through a shell firm in Zurich. She grew restless. Julian panicked. The test was no longer clean. She was hunting him unknowingly. He feared the wrong conclusion, that someone else loved her enough to do all this. Someone better. Someone richer. For the first time, jealousy entered Julian's mind of himself. Julian lied for the first time. Serena came home excited. I think it's someone from my mom's past. An old friend or secret admirer. Julian laughed and said, sounds like a good mystery novel. She smiled, but something behind her eyes dimmed. She leaned on him, held him tightly, whispered, I just wish I could thank them. You are, he murmured, in ways they'll never forget, but the lie festered. The more she wondered, the more distant she became. Julian's test had backfired. Instead of confirming her love, he was driving a wedge between them. One morning, Serena used Julian's laptop to send an email. The screen blinked and she caught a glimpse of a spreadsheet. It had names, dates, transactions, her mother's hospital, her father's tax payments, her scholarship, all tracked, itemized. She froze. Julian entered the room, saw the screen and stopped cold. Julian, what is this? He hesitated. Time slowed. A project, he said. Work-related. She nodded slowly. But her eyes didn't believe him. The first crack had appeared. The facade was crumbling. Julian knew he had a choice, confess or keep hiding. He chose the latter. One last act. He sent a letter to Serena's father, claiming to be Benevo, asking for no recognition but assuring them their family was chosen for their resilience and integrity. But her father showed her the letter. Now Serena had something tangible, proof of the donor's identity, or at least intention. And yet, something in the phrasing felt familiar. Julian used phrases she had heard from him before. Strength in silence. Love is what you do, not what you say, she confronted him again. Julian, are you Benevo? His lips parted, then closed. He shook his head. No, and with that the final lie took root. In the weeks that followed, a quiet chasm formed between Julian and Serena. She still kissed him goodnight, still painted in her studio, still laughed at his dry humor, but something had shifted. Her eyes lingered longer on silence. Her touches felt lighter, hesitant. Julian pretended not to notice. He doubled down on the lie, determined to see the test through. But each passing day felt like betrayal layered upon betrayal. The help continued, quiet anonymous gestures, supplies for her father's shop, a new reclining chair for her mother, a payment for Serena's art gallery rent. But with every donation, Julian felt further from her heart. Then one night, Serena asked, would you still love me if I had nothing? Julian turned to her slowly. I already do. She looked away. I just wonder if I would feel the same, if the roles were reversed. Her words hung in the air like a verdict waiting to be delivered. Julian met Devon again, this time in a quiet bar far from town. Devon was furious. You're not just lying anymore, you're gaslighting her. Julian sipped his drink, silent. You wanted proof of her love, but all you've done is prove your fear. You're not testing her. You're punishing her for loving you. Julian clenched his jaw. I'm protecting myself, Devon leaned in. Then you're already alone. Those words stuck with Julian long after the night ended. Serena found an old journal Julian had left in a drawer, filled with philosophical quotes, fragments of conversations, even a poem he wrote after their third date. But at the very back, she found a printed receipt from a wire transfer to the Zurich account, dated weeks before the first donation. She held the paper in shaking hands. The truth finally confirmed. He had lied. Not once, but for months. While her family praised a ghost, the man she loved sat silently by, feeding the illusion. She didn't cry, not yet. Instead, she waited. Serena made dinner that night. Candles, her favorite pasta, wine. She wore the green dress Julian once said made her look like a forest you could get lost in. Julian was surprised, touched. Maybe things were finally settling. Maybe she was letting go of her suspicions. They ate, talked about art, books, travel. Then Serena said softly, you know what I realized today? Julian looked up. She met his eyes. That you've been loving me from behind a curtain. He froze. And I'm tired of pretending not to see the strings. Julian tried to deflect again, but Serena cut him off. I know everything, Julian. The accounts, the payments, the letters. You're Benevo. Julian's silence was his confession. She stood, tears threatening but not yet falling. Do you think I'm so shallow that I'd only love the man who gave my family money? That you had to test me? Julian stood too. No, I just needed to know if what we had was real. And what if I had failed? What if I had said something wrong? You would have walked away? After everything? His hands shook. I didn't think it would go this far. She laughed bitterly. That's the thing with lies. They always go too far. Serena left that night. She didn't scream, didn't accuse, just said she needed space. Julian sat alone, staring at the journal he once used to hold his dreams. Now it held only guilt. He tried calling, texting, sending flowers, no response. He stopped the donations, closed the Benevo account. The test was over, but so, it seemed, was their love. Weeks passed. Serena moved in with a friend. Her family asked questions, but she kept the truth vague. Julian returned to his quiet life. He still worked at the library, still read poetry at night, but nothing felt the same. He visited his father's grave one morning, bringing the journal with him. "I tried to be better than you," he whispered, "but I made the same mistake. I let fear choose for me, for the first time in months," he cried. Serena, meanwhile, found clarity in solitude. She painted obsessively. Her new collection, titled Lies That Loved Me, sold out in 3 weeks. But the success didn't fill the void. One evening her mother asked, "Do you still love him?" Serena hesitated. "Yes." "Then why did you leave?" "Because I love the truth more," her mother smiled sadly. "Maybe one day he'll give you both." Julian wrote one last letter, this time signed with his name. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He simply told her the truth, his fears, his motives, his regret. "I loved you so much I tried to control the outcome. But love isn't a test, it's a risk. One I should have taken without safety nets." He left the letter at her art studio, then he walked away. A month later, Serena stood in a gallery in Paris, staring at her own work. Behind her a familiar voice whispered, "It's even more beautiful than the photo." She turned slowly. Julian stood there, nervous, older somehow, but sincere. "I'm not here to win you back," he said. "Just to see the artist you've become." She studied him. "Did you come all this way without a plan?" He nodded. "For once, yes," Serena smiled, just barely. "Then stay, just for coffee." He exhaled, relieved, humbled, hopeful. Not redemption, not yet, but maybe a beginning. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional stories about love, truth, and second chances.